Howdy howdy, my name is John, and this video is a review and a tag video for the book Half Human Heroes, edited by Jeremy Fee. The tag was created by Jeremy Fee, and he tagged me for this set of questions as well. As I go through the questions, I'm also going to give a kind of brief review of each of the stories and just kind of tell what I thought of them. Now, an important thing to note here is that I'm subscribed to all of the authors that I'm going to talk about. And so there is a little bit of bias with me on these authors, and so that probably affects my enjoyment of these stories. The first prompt is for the foreword by Philip Chase. Give a shout out to someone in the Fantasy BookTube community. So I'm going to mention 5 booktubers: Beth Ann Bruning Sokolar, who has been my Dragonlance buddy for the past 3 years. I can't really talk about the next 2. I can't really talk about one without talking about the other. And this is Ian at B&B Books and Jose at Jose's Amazing World. I've done a couple of buddy reads with those 2. I really enjoy their content. Next, I want to give a shout out to Read Becca, another great channel that you should check out. I also want to give a shout out to Danny Dabbles. She's a newer channel, but she's got excellent content. And last, I want to mention Chris Daily Reading. It feels a little weird to kind of rate the foreword, but Dr. Chase did an excellent job with the foreword, and it's definitely a 5-star read. Don't skip the foreword when you pick up this book and read it. Now, Jeremy also wrote a preface for this book, and he did not include a question for the preface. And before I read the book, I actually kind of came up with a question on my own. The question being, what is your favorite half-human character? So my favorite non-Piers Anthony half-human character is Tanis, half-elven, from the Dragonlance series, which of course Jeremy mentioned in his preface. Way to go, Jeremy. You notice I prefaced that with a non-Piers Anthony answer, because for all of the questions that follow, I'm going to give a non-Piers Anthony answer and a Piers Anthony answer, because if you're new to my channel, I'm a Piers Anthony fan. So my Piers Anthony answer for this question is Chester Centaur. A centaur is half human, half horse. Centaurs play a very large role in the Anthony Zant series, which is my favorite series of all time. And Chester shows up mainly in the first 2 books, and he's an excellent supporting character. The next prompt is for the first story in the collection, Dishonoured in Death by Mason Adey. Now, Mason has the BookTube channel, Mason in the Dark. The question for this prompt is, who are your favorite sibling characters in a story? So my favorite sibling characters for a non-D&D story, I have to go back to Dragonlance again, and that's Caramon and Raceland. I'm sure that's a lot of people's answer for this one. But those brothers, especially in the Legends trilogy, those characters are just standouts. There's a lot of interesting sibling characters in the Zant series as well. And I'm going to go with Chester's children, Chet and Chim Centaur. They kind of feature in novels about 4 on until later in the series. And they're a very interesting sibling pair. Again, I could have mentioned a lot of sibling characters from other Anthony stories as well. I just finished reading The Iron Maiden, which is the final in the Bio of the Space Tyrant series. And Hope and Spirit, Hubris, are a really fascinating sibling relationship as well. And I should have a review for the series coming out shortly. As for the story for Mason, this story here is pretty much your kind of average revenge story. And those really stories don't typically resonate with me, and this one did not as well. I mean, it's a fine story. I think if you're kind of into revenge stories, you'll really enjoy this one. But for me personally, I gave this story 3 stars. The next story is Goatman's Bridge by P.M. Brown. The question for this author is, what is your favorite story with the supernatural in it? Again, I could have picked a lot for my Anthony reads, but I'm going to go with Millie the Ghost from Castle Rugna. For my non-Anthony, I'm going to go with Moaning Myrtle from the Harry Potter series. As far as the story itself, this was far away my favorite story of the collection. This story does a really great job in the short amount of space, kind of setting up the atmosphere. Really enjoyed the ending to this story. I mean, this story was an absolute pleasure to read. It's the only 5-star story in this collection, and I definitely want to check out more work by this author. The next story is The Band Gets Together by Dane Cobain. The question for this prompt is, what is your favorite story that incorporates music? Now, for my non-Anthony answer, this is going to be the Robotech Macross series. In the novel, this is actually the novelization of the TV series. It's the first 6 books of the Robotech series. This story, I think, kind of helps incorporate the power of songs and music into kind of our lives and how. And so that's one of the details of that story that I really do appreciate. For my Anthony answer, this by far is my favorite story that incorporates music, and that is the second book in the Apprentice Adept series, which is Blue Adept. If you're familiar with this series, part of the action takes place on a science fiction world where they have a series of games, and the games incorporate basically any competition that you can imagine, including musical competitions. And so near the end of this novel, there's a musical competition that really, I mean, I can just feel the electricity, even though I can't hear the music because it's novel form. It just, it gives me that feeling of being in like the best concert I've ever been to. It's a fantastic part of the story, one of my favorite scenes in any book ever. I reread the story a couple of years ago, and I'd forgotten a lot of what happened in the book, but that music scene, I remembered it, and it came alive again for me when I reread that section of the book. As far as the story itself, I did enjoy this story. I gave it 4 stars. The next story is Home of the Gnome by the editor Jeremy Fee. The question for this prompt is, what is your favorite playful or interesting title? Now, for my Anthony one, I could have gone for a very obvious choice, but I'm actually going to save that for a later question. For this one, I'm going to go with Cruel Lie, A Caustic Tale. Of course, the spelling of Cruel Lie is is itself a play on words, which Anthony, of course, is famous for in his Zant series. For my non-Anthony pick, I'm going to go with So Long and Thanks for All the Fish by Douglas Adams. This is one of the later books in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. And of course, it's a reference from the first book. And the title just always kind of makes me grin. I think it's the perfect phrase for any kind of a goodbye situation. As far as the story itself, again, may be my bias coming through because Jeremy has been one of the biggest supporters of my channel. But this was my second favorite story of the collection. Easily a 4-star read. I really did enjoy this story. The next title is Abandoned Hope by Jessica Haas. Jessica has the channel, Jess the Book Freak. I really enjoy watching Jess's channel. The question for this prompt is, what is your favorite moral quandary in a story? For Anthony, the first one that comes to mind is Source of Magic. That's the second book in the Zant series. And then the later books of the Apprentice Adept series also have a very interesting moral quandary. For my non-Anthony answer, I'm going to go with Speaker for the Dead by Orson Scott Card. In this story, the main character has to confront an alien race that has different customs. And while he's investigating this and investigating a larger story as well, it comes up with some interesting moral questions. I really did enjoy Jessica's story. It was easily another 4-star story for me. I found the main character interesting. The main character is a half human, half crow, and never seen that in a story before. So that to me was very interesting. And the story itself, I really enjoyed it. The next story is Amaranthine Amphitheater by Liam Q.D. Hall. Uh, the BookTube channel for this is Liam's Lyceum, another excellent channel. The question for this prompt is, who is your favorite immortal character? Again, for my Anthony series, I have to go back to the Xanth series. And the Xanth series, the land of Xanth, is actually named after the demon Xanth. The demon is a nearly omnipotent character who does have some restrictions on his abilities, but they're limited mostly by the demon realm, not necessarily the human realm. And this, he shows up as characters from time to time throughout the Xanth series. My favorite story that he shows up in is Yond Ill Wind. Um, this lets him kind of explore the world of Xanth, kind of in a body that is both ridiculous and very much limits his power. So it's just an interesting story, an interesting character. My answer for a non-Anthony book is the robotic character R. Daniel Olival. He's the character in the Robot series by Isaac Asimov. Because he's a robot, he basically, as long as he gets his upgrades, he can continue to survive. As far as the story itself, this is actually my least favorite story in the collection. I did give it 3 stars, but the story just didn't connect with me. And that's not a reflection of Liam or my opinion of him. It's just, for whatever reason, this story did not connect with me. I assume that it will connect with others, so I definitely encourage you to give it a chance. The next story is Lies of the Sunstone and the Hybrid Prince by S.D. Huston. Don't get to watch a lot of Shannon's channel because she's more of an author tuber than a true book tuber. But I do what I have watched of her channel, I've really enjoyed. The question for this is, who is your favorite thief character or story with a heist in it? Now, I'm going to go back to Dragonlance for my non-Anthony pick, and it should be an obvious choice. It's Tasselhoff. Now, mind you, don't accuse Tasselhoff of stealing because he'll get very offended by that. He's just, he's doing a civic duty by picking up what has gotten dropped. For my Anthony answer, I'm going to go with The Color of Her Panties. This was the one that I saved from an earlier question. And there is a high story in this. The main characters of this story are tasked to steal what is between a rock and a hard place. As for the story itself, this is a story that I just didn't really connect with. I mean, it's a fine story. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it, but it doesn't really kind of vibe with my reading taste. This one's more kind of a romance story. It's fine. I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it. The next story is Red Eyes by Kupel Kark. I haven't seen anything from Kupel on his channel in a while. The question for this prompt is, what is your favorite story with an adventuring party or found family in it? My Anthony answer for this is pretty obvious, although there's a lot of great stories with the found family trope in it, especially the Zant series. But my answer for this is chaos mode. In this, they encounter a uh, a creature from an alien race, and I think Anthony really captures how different this creature relates to the world, different from the human characters, and how they kind of struggle to come up with a you know the how they interact with one another. For my non-Anthony answer, I'm going to go with the Icewind Dale trilogy. Again, I could have very easily gone with the Dragonlance trilogy on this. But I think the Icewind Dale really, Dritz is one of my favorite characters of all time. And this shows Dritz really interacting with, the characters that really kind of help make him who he is. As far as the story itself, again, another story that just didn't connect with me as a reader. Nothing really wrong with it. I gave it 3 stars, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy it. The last story in this collection is The Defense of Burgon by David Wiley. David has a great channel. I've actually been fortunate enough to meet David in person. We had a wonderful visit together. And again, there may be a little bit of bias in my review of this story. This story was easily a 4-star story for me. The story actually does some things that I don't like to read in stories. It's social commentary, which I don't tend to like. The social commentary in the story is a little too obvious, which again, I don't really like. But David in this story has created such a memorable main character, such a likable main character, and really a main character that you can really get behind and root for. And I really like the ending of this story. This story was my third favorite in the collection, and it's definitely well worth reading. The question for this prompt is, what is your favorite battle in a story? For my Anthony answer, this one was fairly easy. This is the final battle scene in Juxtaposition, which is the third book in his Apprentice to Depth series. This is a battle where I don't want to get too much into spoilers in this one, but the fantasy world and the science fiction world in these stories collide. And so you've got dragons fighting tanks. And this mishmash of elements, I just really enjoyed. For my non Anthony answer, this battle scene is easily my favorite of all time. And it's the final battle in Mirror's Truth. Again, uh, these books are very kind of graphic, grimdark stories, and so there's a lot of battle scenes in here. But the final battle scene in Mirror's Truth, it's just extremely well done, and really easily the most memorable thing I think from that story, and just a great battle scene. Before I end this video, I actually kind of crossed a couple of milestones. I just want to take a few moments to kind of reminisce about them. Uh, First is this video will be number 200 that I have published. The second milestone is I've missed it by a couple of months now, but early in June of 2000, I posted my first video. So I've been on BookTube now for over 3 years. And what's funny is I actually did the first 100 videos in about the first 6 months of my channel. There was a 6-week stretch where I actually did 4 videos a week. And those first 6 months that I was on BookTube was absolute magic. I mean, I put a lot of hard work into it. Um, and I got good results from that hard work as well. Next 100 videos has taken me, well over 2.5 years to actually put together. And for various reasons. To be perfectly honest, the BookTube community as a whole doesn't really impress me all that much. Um, I've met some terrible people by doing BookTube, I've met a lot of people that, you know, I just I did not connect with. Um, but there have been a handful of people that I have met doing this that have been absolutely wonderful. I've gotten to meet quite a few people that also do BookTube, and those are some really memorable experiences. Those memories I will treasure for the rest of my life. I have zero regrets for starting my YouTube channel talking about books. As my videos have gotten farther and farther apart from uh, being released, I really do appreciate those of you who have stuck with me and still watch my videos. I know I haven't been able to post very frequently lately, and it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle uh, because the YouTube algorithm really rewards frequent posting, and for very understandable reasons. I certainly would like to get back into more of a routine of posting videos, um, but I'm very busy in my personal life right now, and I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I try to watch as much BookTube as I can, but again, I'm not watching nearly as much BookTube as I was able to in the past. Still, trying to keep connections, and there's a lot of channels that I just don't watch anymore, and I hate that because I want to keep in contact with as many people as I can. And it's not necessary, and it's not a reflection of the creators themselves, who, I've kind of stopped watching. It's just as my time has become more limited, uh, I've had to make those decisions. I just want to close this video by saying thank you to everybody that I've interacted with while I've been on this YouTube journey. It's certainly been a memorable 3 years for me, and I appreciate everyone who's taken the time to watch a video, especially everyone who's taken the time to write a comment. The comments are really kind of what drive uh, most of my enjoyment from making the videos. As always, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your